All right, welcome back. We're just going to spend a few minutes talking about uh, what it means to be a data-driven change agent, aka data-driven professional. And this is true whether or not you're in a people analytics role, HR business partner role, digital transformation role, wherever you are. And I want to provide some unique perspectives on that, what I think are unique perspectives, particularly given what I've seen evolve over the last 12 months, particularly in response to COVID and remote works, because some things have shifted. Before getting into that, if we can pull up the screen, I wanted to share this earlier, but I want to really call out that here in the United States, voting has started. So if you look over to the right or left of your screen, depending on how you're viewing it, probably the right of your screen, you'll see vote. Vote is data. And we need your data, whether you're in a battleground state, so to speak, or here in California where there's very, very high confidence of the outcome. We still have to get out and make the effort to get our voices heard. And I apologize for maybe sounding lectury on that. That being said, it's something that as a father of a 19-year-old who's voting for the first time, and a daughter who's very socially aware and active who cannot vote. She is very eager to see people get out and get their voices heard as well. While I have this up, I just want to acknowledge once again all the sponsors who contributed. This is what is called the Expo Hall in the PAFOW campus. Just little news flash. We are going to be live streaming from this room, which is soon going to be called the main hall as opposed to the expo hall. So this is going to be where we're actually going to be doing our live programming moving forward, but more to share on that. So for now, I want to talk about being a data-driven change agent. And what I see is the four key skills for that. And I've spoken about this in the past, but I'm going to take a bit of a different angle, which hopefully will be valuable to you no matter your role. So I had spoken earlier about growth mindset and learning mindset. Let's run with that as well. And if you don't have Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, on your shelf, please get it. It is a seminal work in that it is probably one of the most referenced books now, particularly in professional spheres, that I am aware of. And it's good that it is, because it really promotes this insatiable curiosity and willingness to learn. So much on skill development has been around, does someone have the capability to learn? Yes, that's certainly something that has to be understood, both from an individual perspective as well as from a manager or organizational perspective, arguably. What really is of interest to me, particularly as a parent, is their willingness to learn in certain areas. And if we are individuals and we have an understanding of ourselves and that, hey, maybe I don't want to go there. Maybe that's not of interest to me, as opposed to having shame around it or plowing through towards something that maybe you're just not interested in. Understanding that actually that's a healthy bumper and maybe I'll go in this direction over here. So really understanding ourselves and being compassionate to, as I have been inspired to say by Charita Shala, am I getting her name right? And it's been 12 years since I was in the workshop, so I apologize to her. But she brought this to my attention: shrinking the inner critic and elevating the compassionate witness. So can we just look at ourselves and look at others with just that lens that witnesses what's happening, as opposed to coming in with a critical eye? In so doing, we can learn differently. We can learn from a healthy, constructive perspective as opposed to a critical perspective. Critical thinking is celebrated in common language, and I certainly see the role for that, but I also celebrate compassionate thinking, where we're actually looking for what's right as opposed to what's wrong. And oftentimes the absence of what's right is something that we either should avoid or address. And that's just a different perspective coming into it. But again, learning mindset, growth mindset. The reason I have Jim Collins' books, Good to Great and How the Mighty Fall here is for one simple reason, is given where we are now, many organizations have been successful and in fact thrive in the wake of COVID. I should say in the midst of COVID because we're still in it. And there's a notion of, okay, the good to great companies, many of them fell off afterwards. And one of the key reasons was the hubris of success. And it was really, they stopped learning and taking appropriate action towards the goals that they were trying to achieve as an organization. So here we've had this massive disruption with COVID, social justice, and these are great opportunities to learn and adapt appropriately. So we need to have that growth mindset, be comfortable with ambiguity, which I'll get into in a sec. We also have to be systematic thinkers. And for me, I take this for granted given my economics background, and I think about how the dots connect, both historically, in present time, and potentially in the future. And so I look for data that can help tell this data-driven story. So that's systematic thinking. If you have it out of the box, given your educational background and experience, great. But don't assume everybody has it. And so there's explorations that can be done, really, that can bring people to this same or very similar level of systematic understanding. It really starts with the 5 whys or even 5 hows, depending on what your affinity is. But okay, if you're trying to drive sales or you're trying to innovate, how do you do that? Well, we have to market better. Well, how do you do that? Well, we have to have great products. We have to have great design. Well, how do you do that? Well, we have to have great people doing that. So you get the idea. We're creating this causal chain that we can supply data into and tell this narrative over time. And if we have data, then we can link that data. And at the end of it, we're going to have some uncertainty in the process. I'm going to come back to the expert communicators in a second. We're going to have some uncertainty in the process. So we have to be comfortable with uncertainty, and we have to be comfortable with these probabilistic scenarios that will undoubtedly result. Our answers in doing analytics will be incomplete. It's only to help elevate confidence. It's not going to be the absolute answer. So that has to be understood and socialized, which brings me to this last area. Expert communication, many in the people analytics field or even change agents are trying to come up with the great story, the great insight, and they haven't done the work up front to really understand where the business partner, the person, or individual group that has to change, where they are, and meeting them where they are, and bring the insights and ideas that are consumable to them. So really staying in that growth mindset where we started, doing some affirmative inquiry. Okay, now I understand, what they need to shift, and actually being aware of what they're not sharing that they should be sharing from your perspective, and then socializing that beforehand. So it's not the big aha. It's like, okay, they're now understanding what's coming, and they create an anticipation for that product, for that insight. So being expert communicators in terms of how we're intaking information on those internal customers and then expressing in a very confidence-inspiring manner so the appropriate action is taken. So there's more to share on this because this is really what we're trying to achieve with our learning labs, but you can take this idea, this model, and apply it personally or within your organization. So certainly more to share and explore there. So we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with Jess Von Bank of LeapGen.